Hello everyone, and welcome to my BTG official channel. Donnell's world was unraveling, thread by thread, and he didn't even know the last one would snap tonight. The storm outside the mansion raged like the fury inside his chest, the relentless echo of unanswered questions that had haunted him since childhood. His father's death had always been labeled an accident, a tragic car crash that took a good man too soon. But Donnell had never believed that story, not really. Not when the details didn't add up, not when the police reports were missing pages, and especially not when Joey, his father's most loyal friend, his so-called protector, started acting nervous every time the subject came up. For years, Joey had been there, at every family gathering, every memorial, every time Donnell fell apart and needed a steady shoulder. Joey was the man he looked up to, the man who taught him how to fight, how to survive, how to bury pain beneath a smile. But tonight, everything was about to change. Because tonight, Donnell had found something that shattered the illusion, a single piece of paper tucked inside an old box in the attic, with Joey's name signed beneath his father's last will. The ink was smeared, but the meaning was clear. Joey wasn't just a friend. He had power. He had motive. And if the rumors Donnell had been chasing were true, Joey had blood on his hands, the blood of Donnell's father. He stormed into the study, rain dripping from his hair, his eyes burning with fury and betrayal. The room smelled of whiskey and smoke, the familiar scent of Joey's late nights. Papers were scattered across the mahogany desk, and in the dim light of the chandelier, Joey turned slowly to face him, calm, confident, like he'd been expecting this moment all along. "You've been digging again," Joey said, his voice smooth but sharp, a dangerous mix of authority and warning. "You should have left the past where it belongs, Donnell. Some graves aren't meant to be opened." Donnell slammed the paper onto the desk, his hand trembling. "You lied to me for years," he shouted, his voice breaking. "You told me my father died in a storm, that it was an accident, but you were there, weren't you? You saw what happened. Or maybe you made sure he didn't survive." Joey's eyes flickered with something, guilt, anger, maybe even pride. "Careful, son," he said quietly. "You don't know what you're talking about." That word, son, hit like a bullet. Donnell froze, his breath catching. He'd always heard whispers growing up, rumors from the servants, fragments of conversations between his mother and Joey that ended in silence whenever he entered the room. But he never imagined. "What did you just call me?" he demanded, voice cracking. Joey sighed, running a hand through his silvering hair. "You weren't supposed to find out this way," he said softly. "Your father, the man you think I killed, he wasn't your father. I am." The room spun. Donnell stumbled back, the floor tilting beneath him as the thunder outside rattled the windows. "You're lying," he whispered. "You've always lied." Joey stepped closer, his face unreadable. "He found out the truth, Donnell. That's why he tried to run that night. He wanted to take you away from me, to make sure I never saw you again. I didn't mean for it to happen like that, but he forced my hand." Donnell's heart shattered. The man he idolized, the man he loved like a second father, was confessing to both sins, the murder of his real father and the twisted truth of his own bloodline. "You killed him," Donnell said, tears streaming down his face. "You killed him and raised me as your son. Why?" Joey's expression hardened. "Because you were mine to protect," he said. "And I wasn't going to let him ruin you the way he ruined everything else." Donnell's mind screamed. Every memory felt tainted now, every birthday Joey attended, every lesson, every piece of advice. It was all built on a lie. "You're a monster," he said hoarsely. Joey's face darkened. "Maybe," he replied. "But everything I did for you." He reached out, but Donnell backed away. "Don't touch me," he shouted. His voice echoed through the mansion halls, reaching the ears of someone standing just beyond the doorway, Naomi, his mother, frozen in disbelief as the truth she'd buried for decades spilled into the open. Her face went pale. She had known Joey's secret, had lived with his lies, had watched her son grow up loving the man who destroyed their lives. She gasped, hand covering her mouth, but Joey caught her reflection in the mirror and turned. "Naomi," he said coldly, "you shouldn't be here." But before Naomi could speak, Donnell lunged for the drawer, the one he knew held Joey's gun. His hand shook as he pulled it out, pointing it straight at the man who'd taken everything from him. "Tell me it's not true," he cried. "Tell me you didn't kill him." Joey stepped forward slowly, his voice low and steady. "Donnell, put the gun down. You're not a killer." "You don't know what I am," Donnell said through gritted teeth. "You made me." The thunder roared louder, lightning flashing across the stained glass windows, casting fractured colors across their faces. Naomi screamed for them to stop, her voice breaking, but in that split second, a gunshot ripped through the air, one deafening, heart-stopping moment that shattered the storm. Donnell collapsed to the floor. His eyes wide, lips trembling, confusion flickering across his face. The gun slipped from his hand as blood spread across his shirt. Naomi screamed, rushing to him, cradling her son as tears poured down her cheeks. "No, no, no," she sobbed. Joey stood motionless, the smoking gun still in his hand. His face was pale, his breathing ragged. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he whispered. "He was my son, my only son." Naomi looked up at him with pure hatred. "You took everything from me," she spat. "You killed the man I loved, and now you've killed our child." Joey fell to his knees, staring at Donnell's lifeless body, the weight of his sins finally crashing down on him. "I didn't mean to," he said weakly. He pulled the trigger first. Stop." Naomi screamed. "You don't get to justify this." She slapped him across the face, her grief turning to rage. "You destroyed us, Joey. You destroyed everything." Outside, the storm began to die down, but inside beyond the gates, the storm had only just begun. Donnell's death sent shockwaves through the town. The next morning, whispers filled the streets, some said it was an accident, others said it was murder. But the truth was buried beneath lies, just like every secret that had come before. Naomi refused to speak to anyone, retreating into the mansion like a ghost, haunted by memories of the son she couldn't save and the man she wished she'd never loved. Joey vanished that same night, leaving only a blood-stained confession letter and the shattered remnants of a family that would never be whole again. But in Beyond the Gates, no secret stays buried forever. Weeks later, as the police searched for Joey's whereabouts, new evidence surfaced, a voicemail left on Donnell's phone moments before his death. It was from Joey. "Meet me in the study," his voice said. "You deserve the truth. But once you know it, there's no going back." The call ended with static and a faint sound, not thunder, not rain, but a whisper. Another voice, one that wasn't Joey's. "He knows," it said. "Take care of it."